The path to healing chronic illness is filled with false beliefs. Today we're going to clear up 5 common myths to help you avoid wasting time and speed up your recovery. Ready to know the truth? Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm your guide in overcoming the emotional challenges in your chronic illness recovery. The first myth about chronic illness is it's the result of weakness or personal failing. There's a lot of blame out there, and I'm not even talking about the blame and judgment given to us by other people. Many of my clients blame themselves for getting sick based on something that they did in the past and really beat themselves up about the mistakes they've made along their recovery journey. And this is really unhelpful because this is victim blaming. And I can tell you, blaming yourself for the things that you've done in the past is not going to help you recover. Instead, it can become a source of stress if we're always in a state of regret or guilt. Get ready for a big dose of reality. Our society does not make it easy for us to stay healthy. Long hours work culture, pressure to keep up with everyone else, and even the food that is cheapest in our shops. And when you're dealing with a chronic illness, it doesn't make it easy for you to find a solution either. So while you may have eaten junk food, let yourself succumb to a bit of stress, or even had an addiction, it's time to cut yourself some slack and ditch that guilt because it doesn't serve you. I too carried a lot of guilt, regret and shame about the choices that I'd made in my life and how they had impacted my health. But while I was in that energy, I wasn't empowering myself. I couldn't change the past, but I could take responsibility for turning things around. Chronic illness can affect anyone. It's usually the result of many different factors. If you're stuck in regret, it's really time for you to ditch this myth. The next myth is if you're not getting better, it's because you're not trying hard enough. I love this one because one of the things that I consistently see in clients is perfectionism and a history of really hard work. These people put massive amounts of effort into everything they do, and that includes recovery. And they've been trying to recover for years without getting the results that they'd expect. And unfortunately, trying hard and being in that perfectionist mindset is one of the things that really contributes to chronic illness in the first place, because that comes from a place of pressure and really a state of constantly driving oneself without pause. And this also comes from a place where rest is really a secondary consideration. And if you're like this, it's not your fault. These approaches to life often come in childhood. And healing isn't just about healing the body, it's about bringing balance into your life. And recovery efforts cannot be judged in the same way that other things are in our world, where success is often equated with busyness and rest and relaxation are sidelined or seen as a sign of laziness. And yet rest isn't an indulgence, it's a necessity if we want to rejuvenate, repair and heal. Plus, the notion of trying hard enough suggests that healing is a linear process, and of course we know that it isn't. So when we're constantly pushing ourselves to get better faster, we're overlooking really what healing is about. So let's debunk this myth together. Because you haven't healed yet doesn't mean it's because you're not trying hard enough. It might just mean that your journey to recovery requires a different pace or something that you haven't tried yet. And that's okay. The things that don't work lead us to the things that do. If you've tried everything and you still aren't healing, check out my free training. It takes you through the 5 emotional shifts that you need to make if you want to recover from chronic illness. I've put the link in the description. Whew, it's hot, you've no idea. The next myth is that you need to think positively at all times if you want to heal. And while a positive mindset can help in recovery, I really think this is one of the most damaging myths out there. And that's because positivity isn't something you can force yourself to have. Over 95% of our thoughts, feelings and behaviors are driven by the unconscious. And so those feelings, behaviors and thoughts are really driven by what we've experienced in the past. So if we've been trying to heal for a long time, it's pretty difficult to be positive if we've had bad experiences. So when we spend all our energy and effort trying to suppress those feelings because we're afraid that if we think them we won't heal, that's really stressful. And that's why I really love therapies like EFT, because they're really honest. They enable us to express how we feel, acknowledge those thoughts and really disconnect those thoughts from the stress response. So they're really helpful for changing beliefs and behaviors, but also opening us up to more positive thoughts. And this is something that I really love in my group program, Power to Heal, is watching people get brutally honest and really acknowledging those types of thoughts that in the past they might have suppressed. Because when we work together as a group to release those, it opens them up to true positive thinking. So it's really about clearing out the junk, allowing those flowers to grow so that true positive thinking can happen without the struggle. The next myth is that there's one thing that works for everyone. I've worked with people who have tried many different approaches to recover their health, and that includes things that are high profile and heavily promoted. And is that because these things don't work at all? No, it just means that they didn't work for them. And this is where the problems start, because when people try different strategies without success and they think that that's the only thing that could work, that leads to a sense of hopelessness and despair. I've met countless people who tried that big protocol or the heavily promoted thing, and when it didn't work for them, they really got into a mindset that they were never going to be able to recover. And on the other side of that is also self-blame. Maybe they'd done something wrong because everybody else recovers on this protocol. And that's because everyone is unique. A person's trauma, the environment in which they grew up in, stress levels, habits, beliefs, you name it, we're all different. So for example, there were things that I tried and I got some success on them, but actually it was the level of stress that I had in my life that was preventing them from really working effectively. But even putting stress aside, what we believe about a protocol and also how much we enjoy doing it, that can have a huge bearing on whether it works for us or not. And that's why it's so important to find a recovery path that resonates with you, one that you can believe in, one that you can trust. So I want to put this myth to bed. There is no one thing that helps everybody. We're all unique and our journeys will be too. Recovery, unfortunately, is not linear a lot of the time. There are a lot of ups and downs, but there's a reason why we have these ups and downs. There are ways that we can use them to our advantage. I want you to think about the last time you had a setback. What was going on in your life? I would say 9 times out of 10 you would have been going through some stress or some challenges in your life. And that's because those down periods usually come when we're in a state of heightened stress. These are the times when our coping strategies and our ways of soothing ourselves are really stretched to their limits. We're challenged and we have to learn the tools so that the next time we face a similar situation, we're able to cope a bit better. I always remind my clients that the way they respond to a setback, that will set the tone for the rest of their recovery journey. So if they can persevere and use the tools that they have and really see this setback as an opportunity to learn how to cope, they can build really greater resilience and they stand a better chance of making substantial progress in their recovery. If you're going through one of those downturns at the moment, I want you to remember that this will pass, and each hurdle that you overcome really builds strength and resilience, and it will propel you in your recovery journey later on. One of the reasons why people give up in their recoveries is that they don't see those subtle signs of healing. So check out this video next. I'm going to take you through 5 signs that you might be overlooking that show that your body is healing.